the joint pain because the inflammation is so great. So, you know, I often get afraid when people say allergy, just because people think, oh, allergy, you know, you stop eating it and you're fine. And that's not always the case, because the amount of damage that is done when you have celiac, usually you don't know you have it. It's usually an 8 to 10 year window of trying to figure out what it actually is.
What are some of the symptoms that you were experiencing that you didn't know what to attribute it to?
For me, the latest ones were extreme panic disorder. It affected my nervous system. A lot of people don't realize that it affects the neurological symptoms, stomach problems, and headaches, sinus infections that I could not get rid of, shaking, losing hair, losing eyelashes.
And then you found Dr. Fratellone, and he was able to explain better to you what was happening and why you were having these other side effects. Even though you knew you were celiac and you were cutting out the weed, he was able to take you through what was actually happening. Can you tell us what was actually happening?
Well, what happened at that point, because she had a diagnosis and no one explained that you have to rotate other foods. So when you have celiac, you're sensitive to other things. She's also sensitive and allergic to dairy. And allergy is a bad word. The leaky gut is nothing's being absorbed. So if you do vitamin levels on Jen today, better than when she started, because everything is not being absorbed. So it starts in the small intestines, which we call the gut. But the first presentation for some of my patients is neurological, a headache, blurry vision. So celiac isn't only gut, it's the whole body.
Well, I don't want to make a whole country of hypochondriacs, right, because everybody had a headache, they go to the thing. And so basically, when you eat a lot of gluten, you're going to have a series of symptoms that could start with headaches.
Or could start with the gut and spread all over.
And when you're talking about leaky gut, what you're saying is that basically you can't absorb the nutrients, so you become basically malnutrition.
Absolutely.
So when Jennifer came to see you, she was malnutritioned, and you helped steer her in the right direction.
And sometimes people do need intravenous supplementation with vitamins that they can't take in by mouth.
So if we're going to tell people, you know, let's take them easily through this, okay? So if you have these symptoms and you're wondering whether or not you might have a celiac or some kind of gluten intolerance, you could start by cutting gluten out of foods. Gluten can be in almost anything, except, of course, fresh fruits and vegetables. So maybe you might start in a week of that and see if you feel better. Cut out not only dairy and not only breads and pastas, but soups and a lot of fillers
and gravies, charcoal. It's in tea bags with wheat starch. That's how they bind the tea bag. It's everywhere. For a celiac, it has to go there. For someone cutting out gluten, if they're not allergic and they want to just try it, they don't have to go to that extent.
But I mean, if they can cut out gluten and see whether or not they feel better, because you know you're on the road to something worse if you don't start cutting this out. You also said that a lot of these gluten-free products are not gluten-free, so you really need to make sure you get things that are gluten-free.
That's the big issue right now, and that's what I believe is what led me to leaky gut, because I am an eater of mostly fresh fruit and vegetable, and I believe that, look, you want to go gluten-free, there is a plenitude of so many natural gluten-free foods, fruits, vegetables.
Right, so don't go for the packaged food.
The packaged food that
it might not be.
And I will assure you that there's some gluten somewhere, and you keep damaging the lining of your gut.
Which is also why you did Jennifer's Bakery.
Absolutely, because I wanted something that was just completely clean, but not only clean, healthy.
Jennifer, Dr. Fratellone, thank you so much for being here. By the way, I have been to Jennifer's store, and I have bought her cakes, cupcakes, and muffins to many parties. People don't even know they're eating gluten-free unless I tell them. So sneaky. So living a gluten-free life doesn't mean life ends. It just may mean you will really begin to live again. Well, I hope that this helps to convince you to reassess your diet. Up next, the water doctor is in the house. She'll have to explain